Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave. And yes, the label told you what is in the package. Sword furniture is the order of the day. What is sword furniture? Well, I purchased this leaf blade, a differentially heated, correctly forged blade, as a blank from a company. We'll include a link in the description. And then I ground it to smoothness, and I did some aging on it. I rusted it, and I cleaned the rust. It still remains to be actually really sharpened. But it is a leaf blade, and I have always wanted one. And like I said, it's a real blade, it's a functional sword blade. And I have no furniture. Furniture is the guard, the grip, and the pommel, the parts of the sword that aren't the blade. So that is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to make some of the furniture. I might not make all of it. There's also very plausibly, I think I may end up putting something here and here, but I'm not sure. But it all begins with the guard. And I'm going to make that out of brass. And I have this chunk of 1/2-inch brass to utilize for said. And I'm going to proceed with doing some layout on this piece of brass and making myself my sword. Yeah, my sword! I had made this piece as a potential sword guard just to kind of get to know the shape that it wanted to be. And I like the way that sits down in there. So I'm likely to copy this to some extent on the guard, but I'm also likely to add some other details like, I may have the guard come up here a little bit like that. Yeah. Right. So what is 1.75 divided by 2?
1.75 divided by 2 is 0.875.
Of course it is. I've continued to refine the guard. The arms were a little thick, so I thinned them out. Yeah, this is starting to... These are not my core competencies as a designer. I have to kind of do it by hand. So in the middle, it always looks like shit. But hopefully I'll be able to rescue that. Yeah, we'll see. The guard is coming along. I like these lines. I like their Christmas. I'm going to work on them just a little bit more. But you can see where I'm going with this. I think I want to soften. I want to like that there, here, and the same down there. So I want to get a kind of a curve going there. I think I do want to thin this out here. You know, maybe, yeah, maybe coming in like this. I wonder. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased. This now has a kind of a nice gesture to it. I'm going to pause here on this one, and I'm going to just give it a, hold on. So I'm just going to give this one a pass of some Scotch-Brite. This often allows you to see the piece for the first time because you get these sanding marks on it that guide reflections in certain ways, and you can't really see it otherwise. So you sort of have to do it this way. Oh yeah, and I can see some things I've got to fix. I'm quite pleased with that. Oh, let's get that on the sword. Yeah. Oh, like I know what I'm doing almost. Look at that. That's really pretty. Pretty. Oh, yeah. Okay, so. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's plain, it's simple, it's lovely. It's got a nice line to it. It augments the blade, that curve and that curve. They play well. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm about to do this to you. I I kept on finishing. We had some other stuff to shoot. I had some idle time, and I sat there with some sandpaper and then some steel wool, and I kind of finished this piece. I'm sorry I did it off camera. However, everything that I did still applies, right? You saw me do the spindle sander to bring it into form, using the disc sander and my linisher to do some shaping. I ended up doing a little bit of Dremel stonework because, frankly, every single time I've ever been to Weta and I see Peter Lyon in his workshop where he makes the swords, he is always sitting at his desk with a Dremel and a stone tool in it. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And he's just sitting there going, nyong, 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 nyong. And now, having just spent the better part of 4 hours cutting this out and putting it together, I really understand that, because as you sit there and you look at the reflections and you like see, oh, okay, I need to work on that transition. Oh, this one needs a little bit more smoothness. Oh, that one's a little crunchy. Now, I'm actually leaving this a little crunchy. I think partly is because that's just my skill level with this sort of work. But also, if you go to the Victoria and Albert Museum specifically, and you look at high precision weaponry built in the 19th, 18th, 17th century, specifically their wheel lock pistols are something that I am totally obsessed with. They're insanely beautiful, but they're clearly hand built, and every part of them is hand built, and that communicates. And so there's slight irregularities in how the reflections move across these planes and how they, right? Yeah, I mean, you can see it's not perfectly symmetrical, but then again, I'm trying to build an older sword, so. It's got a really nice positive grab on there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a rough handle. And I think I'm going to make the handle a little bit long. I'm going to make it about this long, which means that I am going to make a pommel that goes into the handle in order to carry it forward. Yeah, I just want a little bit more grip. That's just me. But it's coming along nicely. I may end up blackening this. We'll see. Perfect. bronze pommel. Yeah. All right. So the first thing I want to do with this pommel is I want to get it to interface with the threads, which I believe are 5/16 18. They are. That's exactly what they are. 5/16 So that means I need to drill a 5/16 18 hole that is at least, yeah, just through there. And then that's my interface. So I make that down to 1/2 inch. Okay. So we have here a guard, the frame of a handle, and the rudiments of a pommel. I'm going for a kind of a glamdring sort of setup here. I may sand this to be down a little bit narrower here, just to get what I'm looking for. And then the back here is going to be rounded. That is going to be a rounded moment. And it's a little like glamdring in terms of its layout. And right now, this is way too heavy. So when I cut this here, that should be about the right weight. And hopefully, if I need to take weight out, I can. But yeah, I'm just working on this on the lathe right now. So let me just take this out. You can see I tapped the hole. This sits inside the 1/2 inch hole I drilled there. It's a nice positive grab of everything. But now that it's been roughed out, I want to fine it out. You know what I mean? Can I just say once again how beautiful bronze swarf is? Just stunning. This is bronze swarf. So bronze work hardens, which means you get these kind of differential colors, this like light color here and then this dark color here. It's really beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it's grippy. It is super, super grippy. And by grippy, I mean it'll grab your shit and yeah. You gotta be careful and gentle with bronze, like brass. Ask me how I know. I'm not sure I love this butt. I think I may need it to get a little... So a couple things. One is the balance point is like here. So about 3 inches in front of the guard. Makes the sword feel a little bit heavy. But to be honest, with a leaf blade, it is a slashing blade. I also can get an extra hand on this, so it's kind of like a 1.5-hand sword, even though it's also like a... At any rate, I am unsure about where I stand with this right now. So I polish it up with a little Wienel or Wenel polish that I learned about from Weta. I'm going to take this home for the weekend and just sort of think about it, think about how I want to do some of the design features. I'm very happy with the guard. The grip is great. I'm going to give it some string ribs and then cover it with leather, a la your standard sword wrap. This I may end up rebuilding I'm not sure. I'm just going to spend a weekend with it and think about what I want to do. No. I love the smell of polish. Good morning, everybody. It is a chilly day in San Francisco. By chilly, I mean it's like 48 degrees. It's not that chilly. It feels chilly. It feels chilly to us. This is a forged and roughed out blade I bought online a couple of years ago. It's differentially heated. I did all the final grind here on my linisher. It needs to be sharpened. Then I rusted it. Then I cleaned it because I wanted an old looking blade. I'm very pleased with how the blade looks. I made this guard out of brass, and then I made this bottle. I didn't expect it to look like a bottle. First, I had this thing, which really just feels like a cheap curtain finial because it looks like a cheap curtain finial. And then I made this out of some stainless that I had. And yeah, it's just not that interesting. And so then I looked up and I thought, the problem is I'm lacking a lot of 1.5 inch stock. I've got some 2.5 inch stainless, but I don't want to grind out an inch of material because I don't have the right stock. I don't like, that makes me crazy. So then I looked up and I saw this, which looked like copper, but I even labeled it with a C because apparently I thought it was copper. But now I look at this end and I think that might be brass, which is fine. I think this is in fact brass. So I'm going to make a new pommel out of this brass. I now understand the shape that I want. We'll get that. And then, so three things. One, I'm going to remake the pommel. 2, I'm going to wrap some twine at regular intervals around the handle here to create the texture for grabbing it. 3, I'm going to blacken the guard. 4, I'm going to soften the edges here. I just want to soften the edges a little bit. And then I think I'm going to etch 3 planets in here. And then we'll be pretty close. I think of this interesting blade as an assassin's blade. That's the narrative I have for it. That it's light, it's relatively short, it's for close quarter. I'm going to make the new pommel even a little bit bigger so its center of gravity is really it's actually going to end up being probably right about here. That's just an inch ahead of the guard, and I like that. It feels nice and light. That's what I think of this, an assassin's blade. From when, I don't know. But I know the shape of the pommel. So we'll get that going, and then we'll do the other stuff. Alexa. That is what we're looking at here, the rough out of my bottle pommel. And this is the new tentative end of the pommel. And right now what I'm about to do is I'm about to swoop out this like that. Yeah. Maybe you should see it from this angle, but I guess I could try it from that angle. Let's see what we can do. Here's what we're doing. We're going to do this business. We're going to lathe it like it's wood. Okay, so let's see here. I like this. I like the way this feels. I like the way it looks. I got to make a grip on this thing. I like the balance. The balance is right where I want it, about an inch in front of the guard. It means it's light. That's why I like it. It feels light. It feels light from here. Plus, it gives you an extra hand if you want one. I love me a bastard sword. Okay, so I think now I like the shaping on the grip. I'm going to add some twine and leather to that, and then I may add a a little ferrule hair at the top of the leather. We'll see. Okay, so I have taken my grip and I've added some twine, which I use thin super glue. I drilled little holes all the way up. I stuck a little twine in, pulled it back, super glued with the thin super glue about the first ½ inch. Once that grabbed, which it grabs quite quickly, I pulled it around and then sliced up top, and I've got some pretty good transitions here. I don't think they'll show too much through the leather. Then I've taken a piece of leather, roughly shaped to fit this. I've made it too tall because I want to be able to wrap fully and then trim back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat the whole inside of this with barge glue and this with barge glue. And then I'm going to start to do the, and then once I start it, I get ahead of myself. Sorry, because I have leather transitioning around to leather, I want to thin the edges to be very thin. It's called skiving, S-C-I-V-I-N-G. And I can see this really, really excellent skiving that Peter Lyon did on my Boromir sword. It is just so gorgeous. I'm going to try and do the same thing. Oh, fresh barge glue. Yeah. Ooh, that's going to look neat. So let's get this all the way around to where it's going to land. Oh, that transition's not bad at all. Okay, so that's where it's going to land. We're going to pack that up. Then we're going to trim this back to here, right? And then we're going to skive this all the way back. I have to tell you, every time I'm doing stuff like this, I am simply picturing my friends at Weta Workshop watching this and being like, oh, he got that bit right. Oh, he got that bit wrong. Literally, every time I'm doing this, I'm just thinking about how many years all my friends there spent making all those swords for not just 6 movies, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, also all the Narnia films, Warcraft, I mean, you name it, The Great Wall. It is not as thin as I want it to be, but I guess I'm just going to keep on going. One more barge glue. Lots of barge glue, that's what I need. There we go. All right. We're going in. Are we going in? Maybe we're not going in. You know what? I'm going to let that sit for just an ooh. What am I doing? I am, yeah. Oh, we're going to try it out. We're going to try it out. Oh, this feels kind of legit. I don't mind saying. Ooh, 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 ooh. That feels great, and that looks great. I'm really... I know, it's a little bit like Boromir's Pommel. I've got my 2 main pieces of brass here, and I'm going to clean them and darken them. I'm going to get an antique finish on these. They've been brought to a fairly high polish. First, I want to go over them entirely with some acetone to pull off any oils that might still be there. Nice bright finish. And this is stabilized liver of sulfur. So while that is soaking, I've got some of this Modern Masters black patina aging solution, and I just did a test here on the sword guard, on the tang actually, and I'm going to blacken the whole blade here, and then I'm going to polish it back just because I like that look. I want it to feel kind of neat like that. Polish you back. This isn't really giving me much, so I'm actually going to get rid of this, rinse these. Look, I can see that it has imparted a much golder finish on the brass, which is definitely a step in the right direction. But I really want this to be, I want this to be dark, not gold. Although the gold is neat. The gold is definitely neat. I want to go dark. So let's just do this. Uh-huh. See? Just like that. Oh, yeah, much better. Check out how beautiful that finish is. I'm just like super happy with that. I think this is a reasonable place to pause the sword building. There will be a scabbard. I'm trying to get it to shine across. Whenever you see someone holding a sword in a movie and light glints off of it, I want to tell you that that's probably an actor doing like 30 takes where he's like, pulled out the sword and they're like, get it to glint. And it's like, wow, give it a shot. But I'm really pleased with this patina. I'm gonna, muck around with it here. I'm gonna let it get kind of beat up. I am probably gonna make a little metal covering for this out of some 20 thou brass or stainless or something. But it's really starting to feel of a piece. And this is something that I notice about Peter Lyon's work is that like every piece of it, you can, in manufacturing, make things too perfect. I firmly believe that, I'm glad United Cutlery exists. I'm glad they make the replicas that they make of the blades and the things that they do from the films. However, I frequently find their manufacturing is so precise, it pushes me away. It doesn't feel like it's handmade. And so all the final bits of sanding on this are all done by hand rather than by machine, because the look is more genuine, more authentic. And it's something about Peter Lyon's work that I really notice. At any rate, yeah, we're just going to see how this thing weathers. I know it's a little like the Morgul blade. There's a lot of inspiration from Weta here, but this is a great place to pause. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this second part of the one-day build of the sword, and I'm sure there will be more. See you guys next time. Bye.